Hello everyone, this is Andres Almiray again from JNation 2024, and I have the pleasure to be here with my friend Vincent Mayas. Vincent, can you say some words about yourself, please?
Sure. I live in Atlanta, USA. I'm not from Atlanta, USA. You will be able to tell from my accent. I'm from London originally, and I run the Atlanta Java Users Group and the conference that we have there every year, DevNexus.
Great. So I'm aware that DevNexus is perhaps the biggest community-driven Java event in the US, and this is the biggest community-driven Java event in Portugal. So do you see any parallels within the two events?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a multi-track nature, I guess, but we tend to still focus more on Java ecosystem although we do have a web track, so that's not necessarily true. But in terms of the crew that puts it together, we're not corporates. We're all volunteers, and we all do it out of the love for it and the kindness of our hearts, I guess.
Great. So you also are a speaker here at JNation. You have a session, so can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. The session is called 3 Cups of Java, which comes from a book titled 3 Cups of Tea, written by Clymer. It's a story. Software engineers understand the term eventual consistency, okay? But this talk is about intentional consistency in respect to developing your career, part of which is attending conferences and meetups and user groups and things like that. So the talk basically is a talk about community, but it's a talk about how you need to be intentional about your involvement in community, of which conferences are just a small part, in order to see long-term benefits.
Great. So for the people that are watching us through the video that for some reason couldn't make it to JNation, so what could you tell them about the experiences of having these kind of in-person events?
So it's interesting because there's a concept called the hallway track. Okay, at a conference there's several tracks on server-side, Java, AI, whatever, DevOps, web. But there's a concept of the hallway track. And what that is the conversations that you have between the sessions with someone that you've just met, over lunch, over coffee, chit-chatting away. And inevitably, when you do this, your real-world use case of things that you're working on may come up in conversation. And the person you're speaking to may or may not have solved this, but they may have a perspective on it, okay, which completely changes the way that you think about it. And that can be even more valuable than any of the sessions that you attend at a conference. Plus, the networking opportunities that you could find your next hire, or you could find your next job at one of these things. You never know what's going to happen. But the only way to find out is to do it consistently.
Right, so there is a multiplying factor in many respects in your life, whether it's a personal or whether it's a work environment, if you happen to come to an event like this one, an in-person event.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that, as part of my passion and my interests and also my career, I do come to these events either as a speaker or a sponsor or an organizer. And, I've met some of my best friends at events like this over the years, people that I first met 10 years ago. I don't see them but like once or twice a year now, maybe. Sometimes I go to their house in Switzerland. But we couldn't be better friends. And why is that? Because we all gather at this place, JNation in this respect, or others, because we have shared passions and goals for the subject. But you do see people time and time again at this or at other places, and you do develop lasting friendships.
Great. So I also know that you are a member of the Java Champion group. So can you tell us a bit more about what it is to be a Java champion, or what do you feel about the group itself?
So most technologies have some kind of expert group. Usually they're run by companies. Microsoft has its MVP. Google has its Google Developer Group. Java Champions was started by Sun Microsystems as a way to give the community a voice to Sun. I guess technically to provide product feedback and also evangelize for Sun about Java. In terms of what it means to be a Java champion, it's well, it's a very nice honorific, but it's not just given to people that have technical excellence in this, that, or the other. You don't need to have written a book or built a framework or a language or run a conference or whatever. That's not just it. It's about being involved and impacting the Java community and Java ecosystem in some way consistently. We keep coming back to that word consistently, right? So people that tend to get invited to join this group, there are some criteria. They don't get invited because they've worked at XYZ company and accomplished a whole bunch of things and written a book and whatever else. There has to be some kind of long-term vested interest in the ecosystem that then gets recognized by other program members, which then kind of like leads to a nomination process, etc., and some voting.
Right. So again, so the topics that we have covered so far, and at this interview and others, we're coming back to community. It's quite important. The Java Champion topic has come also a couple of times already, and now consistency, something that whether you want to do it in your professional career or in your personal way of behaving.
Well, that's right. I mean, again, nothing meaningful will ever be accomplished without consistency. In my talk, I use examples of athletics and work and also raising children. But it applies to anything in life. You know, you can't, whatever goal it is that you have, I'd like to learn Spanish or something. You can't just pick up a book or do a course or go on an app for like a month and then stop and expect to learn Spanish. It has to be more than that. If you want to get better at playing chess, you're going to have to practice a lot. And it applies to everything. If in relationships with your significant other, relationships take work. They don't happen by accident. So that's where the consistency part comes in. And I think, but again, it's hard. It's super hard to be consistent.
Right. It's something that you have to put effort on it. You have to practice. You may drop it from time to time, but if you really want to be better, then you just have to do the work. You have to, as we say, you have to walk the walk.
Yeah, again, whatever it is in life. I mean, we talk about it in the context of software engineering practices or what have you, but it does apply to literally anything in life.
Perfect. So is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience?
I think that the organizers here just do such a fantastic job with this event. This is my first time here, but the setting, the vibe, the vibe is actually created by the organizers of the conference. I've been to many conferences which are not memorable. And that is a direct reflection of what the organizers do. But this one is certainly going to be memorable. A lot of things contribute to that. The weather, I guess, is great. It's not the only thing, right? It can be raining, it'll still be fun. But it's the people that come in and the vibe that the organizers create for those people, which then in itself amplifies the vibe of the conference, which makes things like this memorable.
Yeah, so the organizers and the staff and the crew and everybody else have managed to create an environment that will help you and others and the attendees to get the most out of the opportunities.
Yeah, it's welcoming, it's well set up. They've thought through a bunch of different things. There's lots and lots of tiny, because I run a conference, there's lots and lots of little tiny details which in and of themselves don't mean much. And if you miss them, no one would really notice. But if you do them, frankly, no one notices either, but it does enhance their experience.
Perfect. So for those of you listening on the channel, if you have the opportunity to come to JNation in the next years, please do so. You won't be disappointed. Come
to JNation. This is a fantastic event. And, the whole team that puts this on is so vested in making sure that you learn and have a good time, and it's a positive event, and it's a good use of your time. Great. So thank you so much, Vincent, and thank you for everyone else watching us, and we'll see you next.